Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, together with the Presidential Communications Office.
We bring you the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news coverage from the People's Television IDC, Philippine News Agency, Philippine Information Agency, and Presidential Broadcast Service. I'm Princess Abiba Saripaudak.
And I'm Joe Fernandez from Radyo Pilipinas. Welcome to
Balitang Pambansa.
Tonight's headlines. Implementation of Marcos administration's flagship projects is still on track. Malacanang clarifies President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. prioritizes economic prosperity, public health, and welfare, and he has no plans of declaring martial law or term extension. Tens of thousands of devotees line up at the Carino Grandstand to join in the traditional pahalik of the image of Jesus Nazareno. The Department of Information and Communications Technology is beefing up its cybersecurity measures amid the continuous cyber attacks in online system and websites of various government agencies and officials. Rice inflation decelerates to 0.8%, the lowest recorded since January 2022. Malacanang backs the Social Security System's contribution rate hike this year, assuring the increase was based on thorough actuarial studies and hinting politics behind calls for suspension. The Office of Civil Defense gears up for planned Exitus in Canlaon City in case of full eruption of the Canlaon volcano. As earlier slated, the full cabinet meeting presided over by the leader of the land was held today, with the heads of concerned agencies immediately coordinating each other's concerns regarding government's flagship projects and how it could immediately be addressed. Aside from starting the year on a positive note, the very important meeting of minds is also expected to help steer the country in the right path to achieve economic prosperity. PTV's Clazel Padilla has the full report.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has directed government agencies to re-evaluate programs included in the National Expenditure Program or NEP defunded by Congress. During the 18th cabinet meeting, the president emphasized the importance of restoring socio-economic programs essential for the administration's goals, particularly those crucial to economic growth and improving Filipinos' lives. Among the defunded projects, 500 million pesos for routine bridge maintenance, 12 billion pesos for road maintenance, and 21 billion pesos for feasibility studies. The president also instructed all government agencies to submit a list of critical projects that require urgent funding to ensure priorities are addressed. Meanwhile, Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista assured the timely completion of the administration's flagship infrastructure projects despite challenges including vetoed projects and right-of-way issues. This include north-to-south commuter railway, Metro Manila subway, and MRT expansions, all crucial to improving public transportation.
Organize an interagency committee, no, among certain departments, no, like the PWH, the OJ, no, OSG, no, the SHUD, no, and other government agencies, no, for us to work together to resolve issues.
Malacanang has denied allegations the Department of Public Works and Highways received a higher budget than the education sector in the 2025 national budget. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin clarified the Marcos Jr. administration abided by the constitutional mandate to prioritize education. He added the total education budget includes TESDA, state universities and colleges and CHAD, as well as allocations for the Philippine National Police Academy and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. These provisions, according to Malacanang, reaffirm President Marcos Jr.'s commitment to improving the quality of education and skills training for Filipinos. From PTV Manila, Clazel Padilla, Balitang Pambansa.
There are two ways to deal with critics: completely ignore them or answer every allegation with the same fire and intensity. With such options, the highest cabinet official chose to engage these naysayers and belie all their claims. PTV's Clazel Padilla returns.
Kung iniisip mo yan lagi, that's malicious. Malicious talaga si Mr. Harry Roque.
Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin hit back at former Malacanang spokesperson Attorney Harry Roque. Roque alleged President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. wants to declare martial law after removing Vice President Sara Duterte and former President Rodrigo Duterte from National Security Council membership. The reorganization of the NSC was formalized through Executive Order No. 81 issued on December 30 last year.
Kung gusto nilang mapabilis ang bagsak ng administrasyon itong Marcos Jr., magmarshalo sila.
Malacanang denied the claim, stating that President Marcos Jr. has no plans to declare martial law or extend his term. The president's priorities remain in developing the country and improving the welfare and lives of Filipinos.
What he has in mind is the economic prosperity of the country, the health and welfare of the people, especially those of the lower classes, and the prioritization of his legacy projects.
Meanwhile, the palace also criticized former presidential advisor Attorney Salvador Panelo for calling the removal of the Dutertes from the NSC dirty politics.
Panelo, during his time as presidential advisor, was also advocated the exclusion of then Vice President Leni Robredo. No? So he has no moral authority to question the decision of the President.
Bersamin reiterated the NSC is an advisory council which President Marcos reserves the right to choose the members of its composition based on trust and confidence. From PTV Manila, Kalezal Pardilla, Balitang Pambansa.
For other news, the National Capital Region Police Office or NCRPO is ready for the observance of the Traslasyon of the Feast of Jesus Nazareno on January 9. Police Major Mirna Diploma stated the NCRPO is doing everything to ensure an orderly and safe Traslasyon. More than 22,000 police officers will be deployed for the religious event. This includes security personnel from other agencies. The NCRPO will also add cops as needed depending on the situation. Currently, no threats to the security of religious activity have been monitored. The authorities continue to remind devotees to refrain from bringing prohibited items.
Ano ba ang bawal dalhin?
Hoodie jacket o yung sombrero din po, bull cap, bag, water bottle, dapat po transparent, mga taong nakainom ng alak, payong at kapote, dapat po transparent kung gagamit. Mga paputok at pyrotechnics, mga illegal vendor, mga patalim o anumang uri ng armas. Yan din po, huwag magtulakan during sa procession upang wala pong masaktan. Bawal ang sumampa sa andas sa ating mga kababayan na may sakit, may karamdaman o disabled senior citizen, buntis, mayroon dalang maliit na bata. Kung maaari ay huwag na pong sumama sa prosesyon. Pinaalalahanan din po natin ang lahat na huwag kalimutan na maging maingat upang walang sinumang mapahamak at maiwasan po natin ang anumang casualties o injuries sa pagdiriwang ng Nazareno 2025. Huwag pong magdala ng maimportanteng bagay o magsuot ng mga alahas.
A report based on 3 people familiar with the subject claimed a Chinese state-affiliated hacking group breached the executive branch and allegedly stole sensitive data that is part of a year-long campaign. Experts further claim the infiltration of the executive branch was discovered and reported to Philippine officials in 2023, while another breach was supposedly flagged by authorities anew in August of 2024. Authorities have been saying that in the last year or so, the Philippine government has been dealing with threats of cyber attacks that have so far been successfully thwarted numerous times by the government offices that were targeted, including, of course, the Office of the President. The Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, continues to intensify the country's cybersecurity to address cyber attacks in online systems and websites of various government agencies and officials. Secretary Ivan Uy says the DICT was able to secure the database and system due to early detection. That's why more sensitive data had not been compromised. The DICT is also acquiring new system and equipment in order to keep up with the times. And to further expound on the matter, we have with us tonight Assistant Secretary Renato Boy Paraiso, spokesperson of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Good evening, ASIC Paraiso, sir.
Well, good evening. Good evening, Sir Joe, to all your televiewers, your listeners, and your followers.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the time. Can you please, sir, elaborate more on these Chinese state-sponsored hackers who are said to be behind the infiltration, and what other details do we have, sir?
Well, in behalf of Secretary Ivan Uy, we'd like to clarify that statement. We never mentioned that it was state-sponsored. However, because of the methodology that was used, it is a well-documented methodology, a procedure, and their MO, and it can be traced back to particular Chinese groups, particularly the group of 41 and APT 21.
Sir, Asa, can we confirm that no new hacking attempts were made and that these are just old information, sir?
Look, let's just contextualize it, Sir Joe. When we say there's no successful hacking that was we have no evidence that there was no successful hacking that occurred. What we have is prevalent and persistent attempts to hack our government systems, our private systems. On a daily basis, we encounter about anywhere between hundreds of thousands to 1 million attempts per day. But luckily, and because of the efforts of government, no vital information, at least we have no evidence that no vital information and no systems was hacked recently.
Asik, without divulging sensitive information, can you please share with us steps that the government, particularly the DICT, has taken to improve our cybersecurity of our government offices? Yeah,
Last year, we had the President approve an executive order for the National Cybersecurity Plan for 2023 to 2024. We're working with our legislature to improve, particularly the enactment of a Cybersecurity Act, improve various laws when it comes to updating the systems of government and how it's being procured in consonance with global standards. And when it comes to infrastructures, as mentioned by Secretary Ivan Uy, we have started the procurement of new systems that would act as a firewall and as a deterrent for threat actors it would serve as a first layer for threat actors to prevent them from penetrating our systems.
Asik, one more question. How can people like us, private citizens, help government in combating such threats?
Well, first and foremost, Sergio, I'd like to thank your program and all of you in the media, because you are helping us perform our most important mandate, which is really information dissemination and education, the education of our citizenry. For our citizens, I think it's high time we adapt and adapt to the times and practice cybersecurity hygiene, adopt stronger passwords, adopt multi-factor authentication systems. You know, there's been this resistance when it comes to the older generation to adopting these cybersecurity hygienes. But I think the most important thing that we should remember is when it comes to scams and various threat actors, they can only be successful if there would be participation on our part. So don't click on those links that would lead you to phishing activities and scam activities.
Thank you for your time, DICT Asik Renato Parisa. Sir, good evening.
Thank you.
This year's translation will have a few alterations and changes, beginning with the elimination of people stepping and climbing onto the translation carriage or andas. But with some 30 hours and change before the procession begins, the traditional pahalik or adoration ritual is still on and culminates tomorrow with even longer lines of the faithful. PTV's Lord Lagusad tells us more.
Despite his age, senior citizen Lakin Bar continues his annual participation in Pahalik. He shared he has been a devotee of Jesus Nazareno for over 2 decades.
Nakapunata ako dahil sa gumaling po nanay ko noon, tsaka ako na dapat mo-operan ako ng sa kidney. So nung nakapunata ako sa kanya, yung ginawa ko naman punata ako. So how many years? Dagdaga pa ng 10 taon yung buhay ng nanay ko noon. Sa ngayon naman uli, yung misis ko, 2 taon nang may sakit, yun naman kung hiling ko uli na magpapatuloy ko.
He mentioned this is only his 3rd year participating in the Pahalik, but always joins the traslasyon. Also, it was noticeable these 2 British nationals fell in line just to see what the devotees were queuing for.
Well, we've come to the Philippines to experience the culture like the local people, and we didn't know what this was, we didn't know what was going on today, but we saw all these people coming, and we thought, well, it must be something pretty significant culturally.
There's some singing as well, we were told. There's some sort of music as well as religious thing.
They are just some of the thousands who joined the pahalik today and felt undeterred by the long line, which grew even longer this afternoon and is expected to extend even longer tomorrow, the eve of the Feast of Jesus Nazareno. Meanwhile, with modifications to the procession carriage or andas, the Quiapo Church ensured that devotees could not climb onto it.
Yung pinagpapatungan ho ng glass enclosure na andas, may major modification ho yan. Box type po dati yan. Ngayon medyo nakapa-slide na ho ng 45 degrees yung harapan. Para ho sana matiyak natin na wala nang makakatungtong sa harapan ng andas.
Along with this, there are EOs to prevent anyone from attempting to climb, which includes EOs who are police officers by profession. Also at the back, there's nothing to step onto except the cross of the Jesus Nazareno. Erasga stressed that prohibition on climbing is to maintain the sanctity of the event.
Kaya ho nilagyan natin yan ng glass enclosure para wala hong nakakalapit, para siya lang ho ang nakikita ng ating mahal na Senyor. And nilagyan ho natin yan ng CCTV para ho matiyak na meron pa rin nakikita ang ating command center sa kalagayan ng ating mahal na Senyor.
The andas also has 3 people underneath acting as stewards to manage its movement. Oxygen tanks are provided for them as they remain in the andas from start to finish. There's also a sunroof at the top of the glass enclosure to allow natural light in. With this, lights can be turned up that will keep moisture out. Beside this, an exhaust machine was also placed as part of the modification of the andas of Jesus Nazareno. According to Erasga, if everyone follows the rules and no one climbs and there will be no counterflow in traslasyon, the procession will run much faster. From PTV Manila, Rod Lagusad, Balitang Pambansa.
The Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, reported rice inflation slowed to 0.8% in December last year. According to the Philippine News Agency's report, this record marks the slowest acceleration in rice prices since January 2022. Meanwhile, according to PSA Undersecretary and National Statistician Dennis Mapa, the rice inflation rate is going down and they are expecting negative rice inflation this January.
The Marcos administration assured it's monitoring the prices of primary commodities in the country. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin says the spike in prices of tomatoes that has now 300 pesos has already reached the palace. That's why government is going after hoarders and smugglers. The Marcos administration also assured inflation will not spike or accelerate rapidly. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture, or DA, explained tomato supply is being affected by the successive weather disturbances that hit the country. It is expected that inventory and supply of the agri-product will normalize after January.
We have been very active in prosecuting yung mga hoarders. But that is only one part of the explanation. Merong smuggling. But we are looking at all this. The NEDA is very confident that the inflation rate will be very, very low.
Meanwhile, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin clarified that Malacanang has no connection to Edgar Matobato, a self-confessed hitman who was reported to have left the country. Bersamin made this statement when asked about the report from the New York Times that Matobato, along with his wife and children, had allegedly left the country. He added that Malacanang has no control over any decisions made by Matobato, including the possibility of him testifying against former President Rodrigo Duterte's anti-illegal drug campaign.
Wala kaming masabi dyan dahil we have no connection with Mr. Matobato. Whatever is his purpose in going out, we cannot control that.
The Social Security System, or SSS, and Malacanang are standing firm on implementing the scheduled increase in SSS contributions, emphasizing the long-term benefits for members. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin dismissed calls for suspension, particularly from former SSS Chief Rolando Macasait, attributing it to political motives. The SSS highlighted higher contributions would provide better health benefits, increase pensions, and improve financial aid for members with an expected 51 billion pesos in additional collections. Both SSS and the Palace agreed that delaying the increase could hinder these improvements, though future reviews remain an option.
We acknowledge yung mga request on the suspension ng SSS for the increase, pero mas mahihirapan ho ang ating mga manggagawang Pilipino pag isususpend natin to o i-delay. Kasi ang perang makukuha ho ng SSS ay magagamit ho para mapa-improve pa ang benefits natin in the future.
The Department of Agriculture or DA eyes to roll out Nutri Rice and Ulat Rice, which are more affordable varieties of the state grain this January. The two rice varieties will initially be sold in Kadiwa stores and at the MRT and LRT at 35 to 36 a kilo for Ulat Rice and 37 to 38 pesos for Nutri Rice. Ulat Rice is 100% broken white rice, while Nutri Rice, a variety in between well-milled and brown rice, which is rich in fiber and minerals.
Hindi naging madali ang pinagdaanan ng ibang magsasaka para makuha ang lupa na nakalaan para sa kanila. Matatandaan na naging sentro ng kontrobersiya ang sinapit na mga agrarian farm beneficiaries mula sa Barangay Kurilang, President Roas, Probinsya ng Capiz, nang harangin, guluhin at pagbabarilin ng mga armadong tauhan ng Nemesio Tandan Holdings. Pagkakaroon ng malakas na political will at determinasyon ang naging kasangga ng mga opisyal ng GAR para ipatupad ang pag-install sa mga ARV sa nasabing lupa.
Muna nga kooperatiba, mag-umpisa ini sa walang-wala gid. Pero sa time ni BBM, nahapagan kami sang support services. Dalag ko gid nga mga machineries nga naga-balor sang milyon.
Sa kasulukuyan, sa unang 2 taong panunungkulan ni Presidente Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., nakatanggap ang Montecarba ng 2,640,000 piso na halaga ng makinarya at kagamitang pangsaka.
Hindi tama na ang ating mga magsasaka na pinaghihirapan at nagtatrabaho na taon-taon na wala naman silang lupa. Kaya ang agrarian reform ay naging priority ng administrasyon.
The latest discovery of submersible drone off the waters of Masbate has ranking military and government officials curious and worried over the origins and intent behind the operation of this instrumentation or vessel that could be either for research or for surveillance or espionage. PTV's Patrick De Jesus filed this report.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is taking seriously the discovery of a submersible drone in Masbate recovered by local fishermen. It is now undergoing forensic analysis by the Philippine Navy, which will take almost 2 months. Part of the investigation will determine its origin. Initial observations suggest the drone, which is yellow in color with orange and red markings, may be used for scientific research and fish tracking. It measures 3.5 meters in length, 24 centimeters in diameter, and weighs over 90 kilograms or close to 200 pounds. All aspects of the drone will be thoroughly examined by the Navy, including its military components.
The analysis will examine the object's physical structure, electronic components, power source, and any possible stored data.
Equipment such as these are used for gathering bathymetric data such as water temperature, the depth of water, and salinity. As mentioned, the AFP is on top of the situation and taking this seriously. A lot of speculation has been going on, but let me state that speculation is no substitute for evidence.
This is not the first time a drone has been recovered from Philippine waters. In August last year, a sea drone was found in the northern part of the country, while in September, fragments from another suspected drone were also discovered. According to the Navy, they remain vigilant in handling such discoveries and in protecting the country's territory.
Just because no reports come out doesn't mean your AFP is timid or not doing anything. We're trying to look at the bigger picture and correlate their numbers.
Meanwhile, Malacanang has expressed concern over the continued presence of the China Coast Guard's monster ship within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone.
We view it with concern. So far, we have been challenging the presence of that monster ship. The Coast Guard, our Coast Guard, has always been very alert in following up yung presence of that monster ship.
The BRP Cabra of the Philippine Coast Guard continues to monitor the monster ship and is issuing radio challenges.
We are reminding you that you are within 76 nautical miles west of Capones Point, Zambales, inside in the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. Please leave this area immediately. Over.
The deployed PCG assets have been monitoring the vessel since Saturday after it was first detected with the help of Canada's Dark Vessel Detection System. From the People's Television Network, Patrick De Jesus, Balitang Pambansa.
The Office of Civil Defense, or OCD, is preparing for Plan Exitus, which involves evacuating all residents of Mancanlaon due to the ongoing volcanic eruption. OCD Central Visayas Director Joel Erestain said that discussions with the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development started in September of last year. He emphasized the need to find land for relocation, possibly outside Canlaon City. Erestain also highlighted the importance of preparing for the worst-case scenario, as Canlaon could be buried. Fortunately, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DNR, has land available for temporary relocation. The OCD is planning evacuation routes, with the road to Vallehermoso being the most viable options. Other routes are not safe or possible. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, is now looking into giving discounts and VAT exemptions under the CREATE law. Following meetings with FDA officials, the agency is studying the possibility of extending discounts not just for senior citizens, but also for persons with disabilities. FDA also plans to launch a wide information campaign to inform public about this step. They expect the process for transactions to be faster.
Good news, the country has recorded an all-time high tourism revenue in 2024. According to Department of Tourism's data, tourist receipts reached up to 760.50 billion pesos last year, which is 9.4% higher compared to the 697.46 billion pesos recorded in 2023. The increase is equivalent to 126.75% recovery rate in local tourism. According to Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco, this is proof, in addition to the country's tourism industry, the sector continues to expand and contribute to the growth of the economy.
And that concludes our rundown of the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news and information from all across the nation. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Joe Fernandez.
This is your trusted news source, always ready to inform and serve the Filipino people. Catch Balitang Pambansa again tomorrow at 7 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. for more updates and developments. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Princess Abiba Saripaudak, and this is
Balitang Pambansa.